Hey everyone, this is Nate, and this is the Nader Tater channel.
All right, so here we are out here at this castle place that I built. I have a video on that actually if you want to watch it of how I built it. But up there is that Reolink TrackMix. You can see what I did was for this test or demonstration, I did the best case, which is out at a corner. So it can see 270 degrees around. The camera can move 355 degrees, remember, so it can actually move more than that. But by having it on a corner, I actually get the most movement for that pan feature that's on there. So if I go up here and show you what I did.
All right, let's talk about this camera here, and it does panning and tracking of objects, including people, pets, and it's made for outdoor. It is automatically tracking, has the two-way sound, has night vision with infrared lights, as well as two spotlights on there. And in fact, it has two cameras. You can see the two lenses there, and that's for two different focal lengths. And then also in the tracking feature, it can have a zoomed in as well as a wide angle side by side, so you can get two different viewpoints of what it's watching. So I'll kind of go through the quick setup, some features. I'll go install it outside, and we'll do some testing with it, including at daytime and night, see how well the tracking works. Now, I've used some Reolink devices before in the past. I've also done several other camera reviews out there with Ring, Blink, Eufy, Nui, Foscam, several cameras that I tested. So this is basically how it came out of the box. I just took it out, and I really do like the quality and the feel of this. It has some heft to it. There is a lot of aluminum or steel parts, and then there is some plastic as well, so it's kind of a mix of those two. But a lot of the critical components, the main base of it is aluminum, as well as some of this turret head here is also it's not all plastic for sure. So you can see here we have infrared lights, we have LED lights down here, and we have the two cameras there as well. Now it doesn't obviously be able to pan and tilt the cameras differently. They're all attached together to this one head, but the two lenses, one is for a longer focal length and one's a shorter focal length. But it looks like when it does the tracking, it's more or less just a digital zoom, so it's not two different zoom levels, nor can it do any optical zoom. So that's something to note. Now on the back side of the camera is the speaker, and it does have a microphone, so you can have the two-way conversation. And then also on the bottom of it is a two Phillips head screwdrivers to take out, and there is a micro SD in there. But of course you can record locally to a NVR or another setup that you have on your network, and I think you can also pay for cloud storage if you want to. Now this one is a power over Ethernet or PoE version. They also make a Wi-Fi version that adds a couple little antennas to it, so that'll be Wi-Fi. And then you can get solar power, a solar panel to hook up to these. But for this one, since it's PoE, it does not have the little antennas, nor does it have Wi-Fi capability. So it has an Ethernet port and a 12-volt power port, and you're able to give it power through this 12-volt power port, or you can do the power over Ethernet into there. So either one does work. All right, so other stuff it has in there is actually a waterproof connector for that Ethernet. So I showed it here. Ethernet is not designed to be waterproof, so those connections will corrode over time. So you use this adapter here that goes in there and puts it inside a little sleeve, and it gets all sealed up. It also has 4 screws with drywall anchors if you need them. It can be mounted 2 different ways actually. It can be mounted where you're mounting it onto a vertical wall like this, or it does have holes that can be mounted to a eave or a horizontal ceiling as well. So you can do either way there. And then last but not least, they include a short Ethernet cable for you in there. And then there is this pamphlet that is on the top of the packaging box inside there. Has a quick start guide. It basically has a QR code that says download the app and get it set up there. This one is just the waterproof installation guide. It's actually, I think, longer instructions than the quick start guide, and it's all about just how you get your Ethernet cable into there and with the seal in place and connected right. So it obviously is important that you do that correctly. This one just tells you to update your NVR firmware if it's not detecting it. You get a sticker here. And then last, you get a template for the mounting if you wanted or needed that to mark on the wall. Alright, so for this, I think most people, especially if they get the PoE version, they're probably hooking it up to either a network video recorder, and Reolink does make that, but you could also have other ones out there. And often those have power over Ethernet built into them, so you can just hook this directly up to one of those devices that provided the 12-volt power. I think it's up to 2 amp requirement there. But the other thing that you could have these hooked up to is a power over Ethernet switch, and then have it go to an NVR or just to your network, and you can access it through a computer or whatnot. But then lastly, you can also use Ethernet just for the data, and then you can have this is my own adapter, AC adapter, that gives me a 12-volt power supply that I can then plug into here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. I have it upside down just so that it will, I assume this is the first time I've seen it plugged on, that it's going to do some movement to check that it has freedom to move. I think it's 355 degrees around this way. You can see it doing it now. And then it can do a full 90 for the tilt. Okay, and then for my testing as well, I'm going to do another cheat, and this is a little Wi-Fi bridge. So this gives me a Ethernet cable that I can plug into this guy here, but then it connects over Wi-Fi to my home Wi-Fi system. So now this allows me to be fully set up here for this testing without having to be hooked up to anything else. So that's why I'm going to do it this way. And now I can go in here. Now they have a app, or they call it client, for the computer that you can install, or you can also use the app that you can download for Android or Apple. Okay, so this is pretty crazy. I had the Reolink app on my tablet already, and you saw me just power this on and hook up the cable. When I opened the app, it already had detected the camera and has it on here. So it says that it's uninitialized. It looks like I need to have a password in there. Alright, so the first step is that it does make you add a password. I think it's blank by default. So I'm just adding a weak password here that I have something I can log into. Alright, so we'll just give it a name there of TrackMix. That's easy for me to keep straight. And then here you can have the QR code if I want to use it for something else. But of course my camera is upside down. I'm sure I can go in here into the settings, and we can also probably move it around here. Alright, there we go. So you can see what happens there when I move that camera around. This is where I'm saying it has the two different views. Now obviously I want to go ahead and fix this before I get too far in there. Let's go in here to these settings and see what we can do. Alright, so here we can do let's see, that'd be vertical flip. There we go. So now we flipped it over, so I actually look normal. We can go to here to the quality. Now this is 4K resolution there. You can see it there, and it goes up to 25 frames per second. And then here you can see what your max bit rate is. So you can change that up higher if we wanted to over the default. And then you can see they have the second, the substream basically is a lower resolution that you would typically use for a quicker view of it, or if you had something always kind of displaying up on a screen, you might want to use the lower resolution, especially if it's a smaller size. Okay, so this is where you can change the setting there for the color night vision. Now, like I said, I'll do some testing there with it, and obviously the color night vision is not really color night vision. It just means that it turns the spotlights on, but all the camera manufacturers seem to like to say that we have color night vision. Really, it's just a flashlight, but okay. Camera name, you can see if you want to have that on there, the watermark for the date as well. Privacy mask, this is where you can go in there and you can tell it, hey, don't record any of this specific area, because that will make it a black box. Now, if you can see the top there, there's actually two versions. One's a wide angle image, the other one's the telephoto image. So you can make boxes for either one of those. Okay, so next we can go to these advanced settings here, and we get some thresholds here for black and white and color switching. So this is where you're determining when is it going to switch to the infrared light. So that, that might be helpful, especially if it's in some kind of weird lighting zone. You can have that change there and kind of customize that. In fact, I don't think I've seen that a lot of times in the past, and that's kind of a nice feature to have. Alright, so its default volume is almost all the way up. Let's just do a volume test to see what it does. So it's not very loud. I mean, you can hear it, but I don't think even a neighbor would hear that inside their house. That's fairly quiet for a alarm. But here you can do settings for detection zone. So you can obviously go in here and draw. Now it looks like I like this one because you can see the pixel size is very small. So you have pretty granular ability to pick specific areas that you would want to either get alerts or not get alerts on. And then here, alarm settings, you can have the motion sensitivity. While it has a lot of numbers there, up to 50 is the range. So a lot of sensitivity there. That was kind of neat too, because it showed that there is a sensitivity schedule. So that's really cool. So you can change the time of day that sensitivity schedule is set up. So that's kind of a nice feature there too. Smart detection, this is where you can have it for people, vehicles, and the pet. So this stuff is really important to me now that we have these cameras with some artificial intelligence, because the biggest annoyance with this stuff in the past was you get false alarms. The trees are moving, shadows are moving. So now being able to set up these so that I only get smart alerts if there's a person there, if there's an animal, or if there's a car, that takes away a lot of the false alarms for sure. Okay, you can have an alarm delay, and then you can also have the size of the people or the cars to make sure that a little matchbox car that's driving by doesn't trip off the vehicle one. So in here, this is where you're basically giving it scale. So you can draw in here the minimum size and the maximum size for a person. That usually handy for both being too close or too far away. If you have a view of a street or something and you don't want any cars that are out there to be detected or people that are out there, you could make it so that they have to be closer to you. So I think that's kind of a cool feature. I really like a lot of these features that this Reolink seems to have. Okay, auto tracking. I certainly do want that, and you can tell it if you want it to track everything or just one object. So I'm going to have it do people, pets, and vehicles. And then you can see here it does digital tracking and then pan and tilt tracking first. Alright, so what this means is that you can have it not do pan and tilt automatically for the tracking. You can say, hey, just keep this field of view and I only want to manually pan and tilt. Or you can say do a little bit of digital tracking first and then go to pan and tilt. That's what makes the most sense to me. Yeah, so that's when I have that set up, but we'll play with that setting as well. Alright, what else we got? We have push notifications. Yes, let's have those. And let's see, okay, it gives a 20-second interval that you can change there. And then here we got email alerts. Those can be on. We got FTP upload. I'm probably going to not do these email alerts. That seems a little bit excessive to get an email every time there's a motion alert, but I'll get a push alert. That's okay with me. FTP upload, the sirens, link devices. Okay, so the share the camera one, you can get a quick QR code right there, and that will share with a family or friend, and then they can get quicker access to this camera to view it. For time lapse, this is kind of neat. This will allow you to obviously have the camera set up, and if it's snowing outside, sunset, whatever, you can have it recording time lapse. Now it shows you it does need a local SD card to make that happen, so I'll add it in there as well. Okay, and then advanced settings is fairly basic stuff really. It's just you can add more users, the date and time is set, if you want the audio to be recorded or not. Infrared lights, you can have them forced to be off or do the automatic. And then same thing with the spotlight, you can change here how bright they are or if they're automatic or not. The other thing you see in here is the cloud and IoT. So for the cloud, you can do the cloud storage or you can buy it from Reolink if you want. The other interesting thing here is the smart home portion, where we can go in here and we can enable things for a smart home. Okay, so if I'm honest, that was probably one of the easiest setups I've ever done with one of these cameras. It was pretty much automatic. I really didn't have to do hardly anything. But let's go get this installed outside and we'll do some testing with it, and then we'll come back for the video.
All right, so here we are out here at this castle place that I built. I have a video on that actually if you want to watch it of how I built it. But up there is that Reolink TrackMix. And you can see what I did was for this test or demonstration, I did the best case, which is out at a corner. So it can see 270 degrees around. The camera can move 355 degrees, remember, so it can actually move more than that. But by having it on a corner, I actually get the most movement for that pan feature that's on there. So if I go up here and show you what I did. All right, so up here at the top for this demonstration, I still have the same setup since I don't have Ethernet out here. I have power out here to the castle playset, but it's downstairs. So I actually have my little power box out here that is great for giving me 110 power out here to power both the camera and my little Wi-Fi adapter. Again, that's just for this setup, but that allows me to get a full view of this backyard very quickly and easy for this demonstration. All right, so here we go. We are recording, and now I'm walking over here to the side just to see what it does. So it's tracking me here. And so I remember I have it doing the digital tracking first, and then it does the pan and zoom. So I'm just trying to watch it and see, even when I go into a shadow, can it keep tracking me? That's pretty good. It stayed up with me. I'll go a little bit closer here and see what it does if I'm underneath the camera. All right, so I made it lose me there. So let's see what it does. Okay, so it looks like it returns back to where I had it previously, which is good because I wanted to return back to the manual pan, tilt, and zoom location that I had it before. So that was a good learning there, that it does kind of return back to a home. It's not clear. It wasn't clear that it would do that, but if I go in here and manually hit the pan, tilt, and zoom, and I move it around, it looks like it goes back to that spot once it stops the tracking. So that's good. All right, so this is in the pan, tilt, zoom area, but if I go here and I go to monitor point, this is where it will auto return to the initial monitor. This is what I was talking about, that it auto returns to a place. So I can go ahead and set a specific location as monitoring point. I can also go in here and do presets. So I can click add, and I can add this preset. So I can have multiple presets set up, and I can say, hey, one's a house, one is the barn, one's driveway, one swings, whatever I want to have them saved at, and then you can go back and click to those very quickly so you can get to them. So that is some of the features that are in there. And then there's a calibration. I don't need to do it. I don't see anything wrong with my calibration. It seems to be working well, so I'll just leave it be. Pretty cool.
All right, so I did my testing now, and we can look at the videos, but for the app itself, you can download the files from the SD card that's in there directly to like your tablet or your phone, but it looks like it limits it to a 2-minute time block. At least that's what it was when I was messing with it. So I said, well, instead of removing the SD card, which is 2 screws, I went ahead and downloaded the Windows-based, they call it the client, but it's really just, application for the computer. I have that. I'm going to show that to you. And I do like the way that this allows me to do so. So let's hop into that real fast and show you what the app on Windows allows you to do. Okay, when you first log into it, again, it automatically finds the device. Now, since I changed the password, it required me to type in the password in order for it to do the live view. But it shows up here with the live view, and I'm about to. All right, so I'll hop off the live view just because it's me talking and it's a sound loop there. But the playback feature, the TrackMix with the two lenses, you do have to pay attention. There actually are two separate, I think they call them channels on here that you do download from. But in the bottom here, once you go to playlist, it is kind of small, but the little blue dots are places where there were a recording. Now, you can hit this button, which I really like, and this now gives you thumbnails. That's actually probably my biggest complaint is in the app itself. It doesn't give you the thumbnails. Especially when you get notified. So that's a hindrance, but what's really nice about this app in the Windows computer is not only does it give you thumbnails, but it looks like it goes through a couple frames to show you what happens in the video. So you can see me when I'm running by. You also see these little icons down here which tells you if there was a motion detection, if it detected a person, a pet, or a vehicle. Now I got several pet notifications when there was no pet out there. It was just me, so it either thinks I'm a wild animal or there was something out of frame that I couldn't see or notice at least. But they say that's in beta, so I'll give them a pass there that the pet one did have some false triggers in there. So this is really cool, and then you can download these. Now you can play them. You can play them at different speeds. You can sort them by just doing specific types of movement or detected objects. You can cut. You can go full screen. For the download button here, what's nice about it is now you can sort. So I can say, hey, I only want the ones where there's a person. Okay, so now that's just 10 files. And then again, it shows me a couple frames out of each of these clips, so I can kind of see what is in there. So that's a really handy feature before you actually have to commit to downloading it. And then you can also just pick all of the videos from a certain time. So if I said, you know what, I don't care if it detected a human or not, I want every video from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. because I know something happened then. I could go in there. Now obviously I don't have any ones on this one, but it would then download all of those files. So to me, from a use standpoint, this covers pretty much most of what I would say I would want for downloading it, and I would have no need to actually take the SIM card out to pull those. This is actually better than looking at it in a file explorer. So I thought that was pretty neat, and I can see how this is useful for someone. Now if you had multiple devices, the live view, you could stack up several different cameras, which would be pretty neat to have your computer or some bare bones computer be a interface there for you looking at a lot of your camera feeds. So that is the Windows based client or application, and let's keep going to what I think of the camera. Alright, so I've had it installed there, and I've been messing around with it, trying to test it out a few different times and seeing what features I like and don't like about it. Overall, I really do like the camera. I think it's a pretty good buy. I think it retails for around $189 on Reolink's website. And like right now, for example, it's on sale. I think 15% off that, so like $160 or something. So overall, I think that's a fairly good value for what you get here with the outdoor rated pan tilt auto tracking dual lens camera. And I like the features of the SD card. It honestly has been one of the easiest cameras I've had to set up. The auto add feature in the app I think is really nice and convenient, and I haven't had a problem with it connecting or working or whatnot, even when I kind of do my jerry rig setup where I'm going through a little wireless bridge for the testing. So what I'll say from the video quality, I think during the day is pretty good, and at nighttime those spotlights are sufficient. Obviously they are two small spotlights here. I think it's these bottom two are since it's upside down, it's the top two here, and they do light up. They're not obviously a overall floodlight or whatnot, but it lights up a good area that you can easily see for me at night going on the sidewalk in probably something about 20 feet or so. It's usable light that you can actually see a person in the recording of the video file. And then for the tracking though, I was having trouble with it at nighttime. During the day it worked pretty good, and the setting I really liked the best was one where it does the digital tracking first, so that's the secondary lens where it's trying to follow you and kind of zoom in digitally, but it's not moving the actual head of the camera. And then once you get to the end of the frame of the wide angle camera, then it does the pan or the tilt as needed. And certainly the movements of the gimbal here are a bit crude, I would say. They're not like a fine motor where it's like slowly turning with you. It kind of does these steps in increments, and that's why I like that setting the best, because if I go to full on the motion movement first instead of doing the digital one, it seems to be too jerky. I don't like that kind of quick movement that it has in the recording. So that's the setting I like the best. And I think especially in the app, the 2 camera views is really handy. I would say after that, I kind of lose value of it, because once I download it on the computer, it downloads the 2 different files. But the second file, the zoomed in one, I don't think it's any higher quality, right? Because the camera just has a different focal length for the lens, but it's just a zoomed in version of it. So it's not like you get better resolution than if you were to take the wide angle and just crop it yourself. So that's the only thing I'll say about the 2 lens thing, is that it's almost better for using it in the app than it is if you're trying to record to your own NVR or your computer itself. It's kind of a little bit less of a benefit overall. And then the infrared light, it does seem to work well. The night time before the spotlight comes on does see well. You know, I can see past 100 feet out there, out in the driveway. Obviously, you're not seeing well out there, but you can at least see that there's something out there. And perhaps it's a clear night tonight, so I actually get some moonlight, and that probably helps a lot as well. But on the nighttime vision, when I did my test there, where I'm running around like a maniac, I did that during the day, and for the most part it kept up with me. It was hard to make it lose me in general during the day. At nighttime, when I tried doing those antics, it was very easy for me to lose the camera. And you'll notice in the video footage itself, at nighttime, there's this ghosting effect. I'm not sure what the I know there's a technical term for it in video speak, but basically, you know, I kind of disappear as I move so fast. I think it's the post processing that it's doing. It's trying to add image clarity. Well, it ends up actually kind of removing me once I move too fast, and I look like I'm transparent going across the screen. And I think as part of that, it doesn't do a good job of motion tracking me either when I move that fast. So there were several times when I would go through, I could even kind of walk at just a brisk pace, and it would not keep up with me. It would just lose me. It would never turn or track me at all. So I was a little bit disappointed in the performance, honestly, at nighttime with the auto tracking feature. During the daytime, I was very happy with it. So something to know. Now, I did have the spotlight on the whole time. I'm not sure if maybe it would have fared better had I turned the spotlight off and just used the infrared light. Maybe that's something that I should do and check on. And another note on the sound, on both the speaker loudness on the camera itself is not very loud. I mean, it works, but the alarm is not going to scare people away. That you can hear it, but when it's outside, I mean, it's like you hear something off in the distance is kind of what it sounds like. If you're 20 or 30 feet away, it's not startling, I would say. And then the sound for picking up the microphone, for whatever reason, in the app itself on my tablet, is very hard or almost impossible to hear. I thought that maybe the microphone wasn't really working. But as soon as I put the files on my computer, or if I downloaded them on the tablet and played them on the tablet, then they would be loud. And the main problem with the microphone on here is that it doesn't do a good job of filtering out wind noise. So it is susceptible to wind noise, and that seems to dominate. At least today was a little bit on the windy side, but that takes over the sound basically. So that's how most of these cameras are. I've never seen any of the cameras actually I've had that have like spectacular sound, but I've had others that have a louder speaker and perhaps have a little bit better ability to filter out the wind noise that happens when the microphone gets buffeted. So overall, I give this camera a thumbs up, and I actually do recommend it. It has a couple of those downsides, so that's something that you'll have to consider when you buy it and see if any of those are deal breakers for you. And this camera, again, is only one version of multiples for this exact same pan, tilt, and zoom, where you have just Ethernet for its communication protocol. But they have a Wi-Fi version, they have solar version, and then they have lots of other types of cameras out there. I mean, Reolink has a wide span of cameras, including lots of different pan tilt ones. They have optical zoom ones, higher end ones, battery power, solar power, all that kind of stuff out there. So I'm going to look at more of their cameras, and I also cover lots of other cameras, so be sure to check out my channel to see those kind of videos and other technology and outdoor videos that I cover as well. So thanks, and take care.